Hello and welcome back to a brand new video. Today I'm going to be talking about why I think Elden Ring is the greatest game of all time. So, starting with number one, just the essence of the game itself, the way it is built, the way the map feels. You are constantly going from A to B. The teleportation, the way you can teleport. The game to begin with, you don't have a clue. It doesn't hold your hand. It's not like games like The Witcher or the games like, let's say, any other RPG of recent times. There's always these quests, and it always tells you where every single quest is. It always gives you these little mini maps where, like, oh, look at me, look at me. It's always trying to give you dopamine hits. It's like, oh, look at me, look at me. You need to go on this point in the map. Oh, look at me, look at me. It's like, no, Elden Ring doesn't do that. If you want to know the lore, if you want to know everything about the game, you literally bring yourself into that world. It's like you are the character. You are actually experiencing this lore from a point of view of the character. You cannot find this lore randomly. It's not like these random things. You have to actively be searching for things. And when you want missions, you actively find them yourself. You find these caves, it's all structurally built in a way which is amazing compared to every other RPG out there. Every other RPG goes down this route of ABC quest, ABC lore, ABC get this, get that, get this, get that, get this, get that. Oh, okay, there we go. Now you can do this, this, and this. Whereas Elden Ring went in a completely different route. It was first grab this thing, which is similar, obviously, but it's if you want to, you can now go fight a boss in the middle of fucking nowhere, come back, and it's like the quest is never stopped. You can do 50 different quests all at once, all of them all going on, all of these little minute details in the story, in the quests, and one little thing you do wrong could mean you have to completely redo your run, or you have to completely redo a whole entire game. And some people might say, oh, well, that's awful. Why would anyone want that? Well, here's the thing. When you're in this immersive world, minute changes to it, and the way that the like structure of the game is built, most people will just do the main quests. They'll just do the main bosses. They won't even think about, oh, let's go down this cave, let's do all that. They'll just go, what are the main bosses? How can I beat this game quick as possible? But if you actually sit down and really immerse yourself into this world, which has been, you can clearly tell the developers really loved making the game. And hopefully this new DLC, as of right now, isn't out yet. But if you're watching this afterwards, it will be, obviously. But right now, everyone I've ever talked to who plays Elden Ring, all of them always say the same thing. It was amazing. Because here's the thing, it wasn't like every other game of really the 2000s to the 2010s and 20s. The games nowadays are they're too, for one, they're too easy. That's one thing. The challenge is amazing. Two, the game doesn't hold your hand. You have to actually find these quests, and yes, now and again it will give you like estimates or like pinpoint areas, and and you'll have to do a quest, and then eventually it might come up with a little thing like one of the raids where you have to go talk. I think you have to go talk to one of the maidens, and then you come all the way back, and then there's a position on the map which will tell you, oh, there's going to be what is it called? An invasion here. You have to go to the invasion, and he'll invade the world. And that's amazing. That's fine. But I hate it when every single game, RPGs now, where it's this constant dopamine of just, Oh, come here, come here. Look, look, blinking light. Come here, come here, come here. Oh, oh, flash, flash, flash. Come here, come here, come here. Elden Ring didn't do that whatsoever. It wasn't this always blinking. It wasn't this always, come here, look at this. Oh, look at me. Oh, you want to fight this boss? Well, come here. It's just like, you find the bosses. Some of these bosses, unless you are actively searching for them, you will never find them. I 100%ed Elden Ring. And let me tell you, it was the greatest 100% of any game I've ever played. It was the most fun. It was amazing. Everything about it, down to the way that medallions were set out, it was immersive. The way that you would constantly be playing, you would be invested in every character. Every storyline was different. Like, you had I think it was 4 different endings where you had the Dung Eater ending. I'm just talking about the main endings, like the where you sit on the chair and become Elden Lord. Because there's also the Frenzied Flame ending. Then there's the Rani ending. But there's I think it's 4, but there might be actually more, because some people have actually been like, there's more endings than what you thought. So I think there's 8 endings in total, and each ending. So there's 4. I think it's 4 main ones, but every ending felt so amazing to complete. It was like. It was like you really felt like you was actually doing something. Whilst a lot of games, it just feels like you're just mind numbed. Your brain just shuts off. It's like when you play COD, you're not really there. You're just playing for the sake of playing, to shut down and relax. Whilst with Elden Ring, it's like a game where you are like, sometimes really relaxed, you're sometimes really in the zone. You know every pattern of this boss. You've been studying it. You've been doing it over and over and over, to the point where eventually that is ingrained in your brain. You know the patterns. You know when to do the iframes. You know, okay, if I jump at this point, I then can do a little jump here, and now I'm into another area. You know how to skip areas. You start to learn these immersive ways. And you're just constantly thinking, how can I complete this game quicker and quicker and quicker? And by like your 8th run, you've gotten to the point now where you're like, alright, I can probably get this game. I could probably beat this game if I just do mainline bosses, nothing else. I can probably do it within about 2 to 3 hours. And you do that and you're thinking, okay, I know this now. What's before, this game took you weeks. You were playing it and playing it and playing it and playing it, and you couldn't. Certain bosses you would be absolutely struggling with, but now you've gotten to the point where you can complete this game quickly. And people might say, well, that's a bad thing. No, it's an amazing feeling when you know that you've gotten to a point where other people are struggling even now. And you can already overcome these obstacles in ways that other people don't think of. Like, look at people like, let me solo her, or let me solo them. It's like they've gotten to a point where any boss they need, like any boss you need them to fight, they will do that instantly. Bearing in mind they have no armor. It's just the helmet on, that's it. That's the only armor they have, and they have 2 swords. That's it. They are like, it's gotten to the point now where there's certain people who have gotten to god status in this game. It's like it's such an immersive game as well. I just feel like when you're playing it, you get sucked into it. Even though it's third person, it's still cool. And it's like the way the bosses are, the way you slowly work your way up. You see the tree sentinel to begin with. You're not meant to fight it, but everyone will, obviously, because it's a fucking massive dude on a horse. It looks sick. you want to beat this. You're like, I will stay here for ages to beat this. You beat it, you feel amazing, and then you come up to this giant church. You're thinking, it's like this desolate church. It's like derelict, all knocked down, and there's just a dude there who you just talk to, and he's like, okay, I'll sell you shit, and you're like, okay, that's cool. He's gonna be a trader, and then you think, okay, I'm gonna now make my way backwards, or I'm gonna go down to the beach because it looks cool down there, and then you slowly work your way into the caves. You fight the bosses in there. You work your way back up. I remember the first time I played it, I was so confused because I saw this tiny area on the map which was covered in water all around it, and I was like, how do I get to that? How am I going to do this? And then I realised I had to go all the way down to the beach, beat the boss, go up, and that feeling of discovery made this game 100 times better than every other game out there. Like, and the way the bosses are set out, each boss feels completely different. Obviously, you have the duplicate bosses, but the way the duplicate bosses are done correctly is they slightly change attacks. It's like with the dragons. Certain dragons there'd be duplicates, but one would be ice, one would be fire, one would be acid, one would be lightning. All these changes, whilst very slightly, make the game feel completely different. A lightning boss fight compared to the ice, they're completely, like, they don't feel the same whatsoever. Even though they're both dragons, they're done in such amazing ways. It's the same with the first, when you fight Godric in his spirit form, and then you actually fight the real Godric when he comes back, and it's completely different. When he becomes Horolow, oh my god, that fight gave me chills. I remember the first time I played that, I was like, oh shit, I'm gonna get smacked here. And I was playing that non-stop till I beat that boss. Because Horolow, in my opinion, is the best boss in the game. In my opinion, the very last boss, the what is it called? The Beast. It was a good boss, don't get me wrong, but Horolow was 20 times more difficult. That boss fight, because if you got one of them grabs, you was fucked. You were basically dead. If you didn't have your health up, and you didn't level up your health, one of them slams, you would be dead. It wasn't until like I think it was my second run, when I had my health way up, I'd get grabbed by it, and I'd be like, okay, I'm fine. Because he would slam the floor, and if he was doing combos on you, it was like he would slam the floor, fling it up, and then you're trying to dodge that, and then he goes for the grab, and you're like, oh fuck. And if you get caught off just by a millimeter, that's it, you're gone, you're dead. And it's like, those intense moments, yes, they might make you angry in the time, but when you come back and reminisce on it, and you really think about the time you beat that boss, it's a feeling like no other. I don't think there's any bosses which you can really compare it to, because most of these new like bosses in games are too easy. It just feels like they just hold your hand, and they're like, ooh, by the way, you need to be this level to fight this boss. You can't go in there yet, you need to be level 35. Elden Ring doesn't do that. He goes, oh, you're level 1? Well, go in the boss fight. You can do it. And that's what's the whole freedom of the game. It completely separates itself from modern day RPGs. Like, the RPGs today that aren't Elden Ring, it's like if you play older RPGs, they feel much better in a lot of ways, to be honest. But Elden Ring takes everything that it's been learning since all the way back on earlier games, like all the way back on the PS2 when From Software were making games. They've taken all this knowledge and all these games that they've been crafting. It's like with Demon Souls, and then they went to Dark Souls, then Bloodborne, and they've taken all the mechanics from all these games and made it put it into one game. It's like the parry system, the way in Bloodborne they had a lot of things, they implemented that, and all these bosses. It's like it's finally come to this one magnum opus. They finally crafted something which they know is going to be good, but I don't think they really understood how big this game was going to be. Because bearing in mind, people love Elden Ring, and people loved Dark Souls and like Bloodborne, but at this point in time, before Elden Ring came out, I don't think the fan base which we have now was there. It was like I was playing basically all of the FromSoft games. I was like, I'm in this shit. I can't wait for Elden Ring to drop. I want to play I want to do everything. And then Elden Ring dropped, and I was like, oh my god. All these games, like Dark Souls 1, 2, 3, I'd say the only game which is on par with it is probably Bloodborne. But, oh my god, when Elden Ring dropped, I was like, I don't know if I'm going to get through this. This is such a massive game. But I was like, I'll play it, and hopefully I do well. Little did I know, it was going to become not just my favourite game, but it was going to be the greatest game of all time, like I said. Because the way the bosses are set out, the way the leveling system is, they've taken everything from all the other games and gone, alright, let's make it a little bit simpler, but in a good way. Like, the implementation of, like, the arcane stat, how blood works, then fire, like, you have all these new aspects. Like, the blood mechanic was such a cool one. Like, I loved how, to begin with, like, Rivers of Blood was dog shit. Like, people go, oh, anyone who used Rivers of Blood is such a loser. No, if you used Rivers of Blood on day one release, that shit did not slap whatsoever. That shit was trash. It was god awful. You wanted to scream. Like, that's how bad it was. But people don't realise. They think, oh, well, look at Rivers of Blood now. But what they don't realise is people who used Rivers of Blood back then, well, let's just say it was not as good as it was today. Same with a lot of the all Blood builds, to be honest. Like, day one was not good. If you was using a Blood build, you knew how bad it was. Like, I pre-ordered Elden Ring because I was like, I know this game's going to be good. I have faith in FromSoft. Like, I've played all of the Dark Souls games, Bloodborne, Demon Souls. I was like, yeah, this game's going to be good. And then my expectations were high. I don't think I've ever had higher expectations for a game, and it went above my expectations, to be honest. So this new DLC, it doesn't even have to be the greatest thing ever, because they already delivered. But knowing FromSoft, some of these bosses are probably going to be my favourite bosses. Like, they have been cooking. They have been really cooking. Like, it's crazy. And to be honest, it's like I look at the way people see this, like, people saying that Elden Ring robbed God of War, the most fucking dog shit game. I'm sorry, I'm gonna say it. I'm a PlayStation fan, and fucking hell, the new God of War games were dog shit. I'm gonna say it. I don't like them whatsoever. It's just the most mind-numbing thing of, oh, let's go on this journey, and it's so boring. It just go from A to B, and then in the first game where you get on the fucking boat and you're just going on this boat journey, I'm like, fuck off. I don't want to be in a boat for 20 years. I want to fight somewhere. It's like, it was so, genuinely, I don't know how anyone can play the new, okay, God of War 1, 2, and 3, goated. Like, they are amazing. But then you go to the new God of War games, dog shit. I'm sorry, they are. Like, I don't care if people hate me for this. I couldn't care less. The new God of War games were dog shit. Elden Ring deserved Game of the Year. Anyone who says that God of War deserved Game of the Year over Elden Ring is stupid. And anyone says that fucking Red Dead Redemption 2 is better than Elden Ring is smoking something. No. I'm sorry, but I played both, and Elden Ring is on a different level to both of them. There is no way that you can say that Elden Ring is on the same level as Red Dead and fucking like Red Dead. The majority of it was bugged out. Like on release, it was not a 10 out of 10. What's Elden Ring? It was like a 10 out of 10 on release. And the few bugs it did have, they patched it on day one. So, I know I'm ranting, but this is my video, so why not? I'm going to give my opinions. Because I'm sick and tired of seeing it. I'm sick and tired of seeing it. It's like, people go, Game of the Year, Elden Ring, so deserved. And then you get like these two people in the comments who are like, well, actually, no, God of War deserved it. It's like, no, God of War did not deserve it. It's like Red Dead Redemption did not deserve it. Neither of them games deserve to be on the same level as Elden Ring. It's like, I could not put the amount of hours I have of Elden Ring into either of them games. Because, okay, God of War, you complete the game. Can you now go and play the game again? Can you play that game 20 times and go, I'm not bored? You'd go, after the second game, I am bored. Red Dead, you play it once. After that, you're not going to play it again because you think, well, I've done it now. What's Elden Ring? You have so many bosses and like different endings that you want to play that game so much. You want to get everything done. You want to get all the medallions. You want to get everything. And that's why I'm sick of seeing these, like, to be honest, I think it's actual children who say this. Who say that Red Dead and God of War are the greatest games of all time. Because they've not played any other games. They have not played any PS2 games. They'll go, oh, that shit old, we ain't playing that. They haven't played any PS3 games ago, nah, that shit too old, we ain't playing that. They haven't played, some of them probably haven't even played PS4 games, to be honest. It's like, I'm like, Jesus Christ. These people go on about God of War like it's the second coming of Christ. I'm like, bruh, are we playing the same game? Are we really playing the same game? Are we really playing Boat Simulator 2.1? It's like, come on, man. I'm going to have to cut this out, like, because I'm just ranting. Anyway, so, here's what I have to say. I think the way that got... Fuck it. The way that Elden Ring embarks on this journey from the very beginning, you have a boss which is so difficult that you're meant to die to it at the very beginning. And then you die, and you come to this area, and you're thinking, who's this woman who's just not showing her face? And then you don't even get Torrent until you go to, the castle. You then go up to it, interact, talk to her, and then you have to go all the way back to the church, and then talk to Renala, and then you talk to her, and then she'll give you the torrent. But if you didn't know that, you would have been playing this game walking around. And that's some of the funniest shit that I've seen. You can get that in God of War, where you get some... Oh, another thing that pisses me off about God of War is the constant, oh, come on, man, get it done, come on, and then it starts telling you what you meant to do. It's like, no, if I wanted to know what I want to do, I would, it's like, no, the whole point of it is you explore and figure it out yourself. It literally tells you what you meant to do. It's fucking dog shit. Okay, I need to stop ranting. Anyway, I think here's the thing. Elden Ring, in so many ways, I think that the way that the difficulty mixed with the exploration and how nothing is handed to you, you earn it, is such a rewarding feeling compared to all the games that I've played. Like, it just feels so much better. Like, I've played probably hundreds of RPGs now, to be honest. Probably thousands. And Elden Ring always at the top. It just hits different. It's just something about how you create your character, you get all these things. Like, it's so cool how you start off you could start off as a samurai straight off rip. Like, you'd be like, hey guys, look at me, I'm a samurai, I'm sick. And then you come out spawn, you're like, oh fuck, there's just a giant dude on a horse. I do not want to fight him, but at the same time I kind of do. If you choose not to, you go up, and then you go get some shit, and then you're like, okay, I've leveled up, I might be able to face him. You could not, because you're probably under-leveled. It doesn't tell you that, which is what I like. So it's like, you probably think you've got a chance. You're like, oh, I'm feeling big, I know I can do this. I just leveled up my sword to level 2, like, look at me. And then you fight it, and you're like, oh, fuck, what am I meant to do? And then you eventually beat it, and then you're like, oh, this was good. And you find out that you didn't really get that many runes from it, so it probably was not worth it to fight yet. And then you go, oh, well, where do I go now? I'm kind of, where do I go? And you look on the map, and you're like, why is half the map missing? And then you go all the way down, you pick up the map pieces, you walk all the way up, and you're like, huh? Why is it just a load of dudes here? And then you realise, oh, I gotta go to this castle. So you've walked all the way up, you've spoken to the woman, and she goes, oh, can you take this jellyfish with you? And you're like, okay, it's a bit weird, but alright, I guess I'll take this jellyfish. Little do you know, she's gonna help you for the whole game to level up the jellyfish. Or any other things, like mimics, because that fucking slaps. And then you find out that you could have just taken your armor off instead of having a full-on fight with him, but it's still cool. I just think something about Elden Ring. I go back to it so much, and then with this new DLC coming out, oh, I was hyped. I was like, oh, come on, man, it's been so long. They could have released this DLC, and then out of nowhere, they grace us, they go, oh yeah, by the way, you know that DLC I was talking about? Here's the trailer. And oh my god, I was like, damn, bro, this is out of this world, to be honest. This new boss, he's got the swagger of Melania, and he's got like the presence of how Hoarah was when you first turns into him. I was like, damn. This new boss, I already know he's gonna hit different. And it's like, there's so many bosses with such personality. It's like, you don't even need to fight the boss. But before you even got into the arena, the constant condescending tones of all these bosses where they're like, you really think you could beat me? And you absolutely destroy them, or they destroy you, and it's this constant cycle of getting stronger. You're always one step behind, but once you've finally taken that last step, you're finally the right level, or you finally figured out the pattern, you've got the right weapon, you finally got the build you want, you think, oh, I didn't do magic because I always thought the swords were cool. But when you find all the katanas and you're like, oh, this is sick, there's a poison katana, or there's a blood katana, that's sick. And you're always trying to change, or you're always trying to figure out what's going to be better. Like, I remember the first time I found the giant greatsword, I was like, oh shit, that's the sword from Berserk, that looks sick, let's use it. And I used that for the whole of the first time I went through the game. I was like, this is the best weapon. And then I found the Rivers of Blood, and then I was like, on my second like playthrough, and I was like, damn, this game would have been so much easier if I just used this. But after the update, obviously, because I found the weapon the first time I did the playthrough, and let's just say it was not good. The whole blood effect didn't happen. And then they did the update, and then I was like, oh, by the way, yeah, you know that weapon that was kind of dog shit you didn't want to use? By the way, that's a great, probably the best weapon in the game. And you're like, oh, damn, probably should have waited, but I was so addicted that I didn't. I was playing that game non-stop when it launched. And you know what's funny? All my friends around me were going, nah, this game dog shit. I ain't ever gonna play this. It's awful. Who would want to play Elden Ring? What happened? 2 weeks later, they played it. And they don't stop playing it to this day. And you're telling me I put them on that shit. I said Elden Ring slaps, and this was before all the hype. I put them on it because I knew Elden Ring would be the not just game of the year, but greatest game of all time. If they can, I don't know, if FromSoft makes another game and it's even better than Elden Ring, I will be impressed. Because something about Elden Ring, the open worldness, the constant progression system. Elden Ring is something special. It's when a company and a team actually care about a game. It's like you look at Activision or many other games where they don't really care. They're like, I don't really care. I just want the money. I just want money. And they're like, well, you probably should have made the game you wanted, but you wanted money, so now no one's bought it. But Elden Ring is special. It's a game where every little detail to the lore, the way that you're constantly digging and digging and digging for lore. You find a book in the middle of nowhere and you're like, why is there a book here? You read the description, it'd be like, oh, this book's here because such and such died, or you've came here, and it's like the certain bosses, you would not find them unless you was really looking for them, or you're trying to plat trophy. And it's like, yeah, sometimes you might look on YouTube and be like, okay, I want to see where this boss is. But it's just amazing, to be honest. Everything about the game. And then, if I had to break it down even more, I'd say the way that there's different, like, stances in a way. Like, each weapon has its individual personality as well. It's like if you use a spear, or you use like a greatsword, or you're just using a katana, or then you try to use a scythe, or like any weapon, the way that the actual stances are, the way that you swing, you really feel like, okay, this weapon has weight, or this weapon feels like, oh, okay, I need more strength for this, or I need more dexterity. It's like you really can understand where the boss is coming from, and how they're wielding their weapon, and how you need to either have a faster weapon, or you go, okay, I'm just going to brute strength this by using the greatsword. And all these things like come together to make this masterpiece. Is each boss, like the way how, like the bosses who were not graced by the light, they use the three fingers for like madness. You have like the dragons. Each dragon has a different aspect, and then you finally get to the dragons in the last area, and then you find out about the whole thing about the one who almost became the Elden Lord, and he's the one who's actually on the cover of the game, and his whole backstory is how he wanted to be the best, but he slowly started succumbing to madness, and then eventually he went to see the Three Fingers, and he wore his armor But look, even though he wore his armor, he's still succumbing to it, and that's why the invasion. There's an invasion near his first maiden because he doesn't want her being killed. He wants to keep her safe. And just these little details of the story and lore, it shows you they really think about the lore, but they don't want to shove it in your face. Like, if you just want to be a casual and just play the game and just get all the stuff and play it and enjoy it, you can. But if you're like me and you're not really into story normally, but once you're invested in a game, you really love to nitpick at the story, figure out what's happened, why this character's in such a way, why this woman has now got scarlet rot, and it's like each thing can be broken down. You see all these. It's like you wonder why this dude in the middle of nowhere he was expelled from the academy, or why this person has a certain name, or why people in the world don't like them. It's like there's so many cool things, and it's like there's literal Horolou with the whole lion on him, and then he rips it off because that's like the embodiment of his like locking himself down because he doesn't want to use his full power. But then once he rips it off, he turns back into this animal instinct, and it's like this. You can see the shift because seems honorable and is like this dude who's powerful, but he's going easy on you. But once you get him to that half health and he sees you as a worthy opponent, he rips that lion off and he goes, now you're going to see what a true menace is. And all of a sudden it turns to WWE. You're getting flung about. He's ripping the floor up. Lava's spewing out everywhere. And it's like you have these boss fights and the arena itself just feels amazing. It's not like other games where you're compact into this shitty little arena where you don't know how to move, you don't know what you're doing. It's like, even if you're trapped, you still know that as long as you know how to roll at the right time, you can still survive it. And it's like trying to get the madness ending was insane. I had to do the little parkour down, and you then eventually get there and you're like, what is this giant door? You open the door, you see these things, they lift you up, they give you the madness thing, and then you see how the tree slowly is ablaze because once you've gone to the giant's lair and you absorb it all and spew it all over the tree, and it's like all these things are all like come together to make this absolutely amazing game. And it's like people don't really appreciate it. Like, you get people who understand it, and then you get these people who are like, overrated, oh my god, wasn't even good. And it's like, yeah, because you couldn't get past the first fucking boss because they're dog shit. It's like they don't have the determination to go through and beat the game. And it shows between the people who didn't have the determination and would rather play like bland games, which is A to B constantly. Here on the map, go here, go here, go here. And it's just blinking all the time, and it's just constant, like, oh, by the way, it's like poking you constantly, like, oh, by the way, you need to go here, or otherwise you won't be able to do this quest. And it's like, I don't want that when I'm playing a game. It's like, I'm playing a game, I'm in this world, I want to be this person who I've created. I'm slaying all these, basically gods. That's what they are. They're gods, and I just slow with the demigods. But anyway, it's like you're constantly doing all these things to get better. You're constantly noticing patterns in the way that people move. You slowly know different ways that, oh, okay, so he has this attack, which will then, because there's so many different bosses with different aspects, and It's the same with the way Dark Souls was. Like the gargoyles, how you had the double gargoyles. They have similar things in Souls, and like Elden Ring, but I think Elden Ring did it better in a way, because it's like you had the Godskin duo. That boss fight was really cool. How it was like it was like a lot of the boss fight from Dark Souls 1, how it was double, but it just felt unreal to be in these different areas, and you'd be looking at it and be like, wow, this place looks amazing, and you'd be looking at the tree and you'd be like, oh, that's so far away, and then you can go to these places, you can actually fight. It's not like these other games where it's like, oh, look at this amazing thing, and then you can't go to it, and it's off limits, and it's fucking boring. It's like everything in this game you can go to. It's like you see the mountains at the very beginning of the game. You can see the mountains, and you eventually go to them, and it's just cool. Everything about it is just amazing. And it's like people can say what they want. People can say, oh, he's glazing, or he's. But the game deserves the praise that it got. Like, the game deserves it. I'm sorry, but all these people who are constantly hating on it don't understand, because they never got past the first boss. They didn't spend the time, they didn't invest, because they was too busy hating than appreciating. And that's the problem with people sometimes. They would rather hate something because it's popular than invest and actually think for themselves. It's like, if something's popular and I like it, who cares? Who cares if it's popular and people like it? Because at the end of the day, if you like it, that's fine. But sometimes people need to get past that barrier of, oh, I'm going to be different, so I'm going to say I don't like it. I'm not even going to try to play it. And it's like, why? It's like you can not like something, fine, but at least give it the chance that it deserves. And every time something becomes big, you get these people who would never play the game and say it's bad because such and such. But it's like Elden Ring deserves that. At least give it the attention, because at the end of the day, it is the greatest game of all time. There might be better games that come out later on, but right now, it is the greatest game of all time, and I will say that, because in my opinion, it is. And I think that the way that they structured the map is very similar to Dark Souls 1, how it's like a circle. You go to one area, and before you know it, you've already circled back, and now you can fight other bosses because you've got to the level that you wanted to, and then you're fighting them. It's like how Limgrave is like the easy mode. People say they want easy mode. Just stay in Limgrave for a bit, level up, get good. But that's the thing. People don't level up and then expect to then fight these bosses, because they're not good enough to do it on lower levels. And obviously you're not going to be on your first try, but they need to just level up a bit more. And if they did, then they'd be able to fight these bosses, but they don't. They don't do that. They just go, oh, we're going to fight it now, and then they lose, and then they cry. But that's the thing. This game doesn't stop you from going to these areas. They don't stop you from exploring. And that's what I love about the game. And it's the same with so many other things. It's like you find the maps. Because why would you have a full map when you're going on an exploration? It's like you find these pieces from and things, and then you slowly build up the world. You slowly go, oh, okay, I've got to go here. And exploration is what makes the game so fun. It's like there's not many games where it really truly is an open world game. It's like Far Cry games. They say, oh, it's open world, but it's not really, because you're constantly having to do these things. It's like Far Cry 3, for instance. You'd capture a base, and then before you know it, someone would come and then capture the base again, and then you'd be constantly doing these missions. And yeah, it's a good game, but it's nowhere near as good as what Elden Ring is. because Elden Ring, it just feels like you could actually be in this world where there's dragons and there's mages, and you've got this constant feeling of, oh, I'm not meant to be given these things, but I'm going to take them because at the end of the day, I deserve to be Elden Lord because I'm working towards it. I am going to make this place better. Unless you pick the Frenzied Flame and you think, oh, fuck it, we're going to destroy everything. We're going to be the bad guy now. And I love that. And it's like, if they do make Elden Ring 2 after this DLC, because the DLC is a prequel, it's going to be lit, I'm telling you. It's so good. It's so good, though. And I just feel like people don't appreciate the way that they actually thought all this lore out and constantly being built. Like Eternal Ring, Elden Ring, Demon Souls, Bloodborne, Dark Souls. It's like all these games all coincide with each other. It's like certain characters from Eternal Ring, you hear their names in Elden Ring, you're like, oh, I remember him. It's like Patches, how he goes through every variation of every single game. And you're like, oh, it's Patches. I remember him. And it's like, Patches is sick. It's like, I'm like, oh, that's cool. And then you have so many things like the castles. The castles are amazing. You're like, oh, I want to go into the castle. And you go in it and you're like, oh, damn. There's actual, like, I remember the first time I went to the meteor castle bit with the lava around it, and you're like, oh, these people want us to help them? They want us to destroy some dude called Radagon? Or Radon? And you're like, yeah, we want to beat them. I'm like, oh, okay. And then you go and do it, and you get this cool ass spear, and then you're fighting and fighting and fighting and fighting. You're like, and then you figure out that you have to use the ability on it, and then you beat him. And that fight was pretty cool, to be honest. I can't lie. The whole fire everywhere and the giant snake, and then he pulls the sword out of his mouth, and you're like, oh damn, it's like got a heart on it, and you're like, oh fuck, he means business now. And then you have to like slowly learn the pattern of when he's gonna do his attacks. Everything about Elden Ring to me feels so unique compared to other games. It just feels something about it. Every time I play it, I feel excited. It feels like, oh, I'm going on a journey. What's other games you play it and you're just like, I don't know if I enjoy it or not. And so I love RPGs, that's the thing. It's like, but no game has been able to scratch that itch like Elden Ring has. And I just feel like when you really break it down, there's so many elements to it which they've really thought about, like the magic system, the way PvP works. I'm not even a proper PvP player, but it made me want to do it now and again because of the way that the game played. And then you had on PC. On PC, you had it where you could get mods, and then you had the co-op mod, which was pretty cool. So if you wanted to play with your friend and go around the world and find stuff. And then there was the Battle Royale mod where all these people would spawn in and you'd all find weapons on the floor and pick them up and then fight each other. That's another cool thing. The whole mod aspect of it. And then you had like all these different YouTubers and you'd see their playthroughs and you'd be like, damn, he experienced it completely different to what I did. And that's what's so beautiful about it. Every person has their own unique experience. And it's not like, because most people didn't go in the same route. They didn't do all the same things. They fought bosses differently. you have different builds, and you think, oh, I wouldn't use that build because that's a bit shit, but to them, that's their build, and they love it. And that's what I love, because every single person has their own unique style, they have their own character, they have their own armor sets, and it's so cool. Like, just the way that there's so many katanas in the game as well, I love that. Because that's what I always liked about, like, Dark Souls 3, was the whole thing of getting katanas and things. Also, another thing that I think was really amazing about the game was how they just, when you was fighting bosses, you would really, it was like a David and Goliath thing, where you'd feel so tiny compared to these massive bosses, and you'd defeat them and you'd be like, damn, I'm literally beating demigods. And then once you get to the Elden Beast, you finally then beat this giant ass fucking god, a literal god. You're like, oh damn, you're like looking up and you're like, I should not be fighting this. It can literally like pick me up and one tap me. It's literally using galaxies as weapons. Then you have the ant, where he's literally using gravity and he's shooting meteorites down. So in what games do you... I can't, like, the giant ants freak me the fuck out. Like, they're fucking giant. You're looking at it like, oh my god. I'm not even like... Ants don't even bother me, but the way that they made them look, and the way that you would hear like the scurrying sounds, and it'd be like, oh, that's freaky. I don't like that. And it's like, they did so many things right. Like, you get these creatures and you'd be like, oh, that's disgusting. Kill it. Kill it. Kill it with fire, you'd be thinking. Because they made these abominations of creatures, but at the same time, it was beautiful because you're like, damn, they came up with all these, like, it's like a mix between, like, Lovecraftian, but then it was also, like, Berserk, and it was so cool how they went down all these different avenues to make characters, and I think the art style was amazing as well. Like, I can't wait for the DLC for Elden Ring. Like, it's gonna be, I do think it's gonna be amazing. From what I've heard, it's 60% of Elden Ring size, like story-wise and things, which is gonna be good. But yeah, as you can tell, I really enjoy Elden Ring, but I think I should leave it here because I don't want to ramble on too much. If you want to see me talk more about Elden Ring and react to the trailer again and give my thoughts on it, hit the like button as well. Hit the subscribe button, and yeah, I'll see you in the next video. And remember, always be yourself, and peace.